Swadee ka. Thank you for joining us on Newsline. We are broadcasting live on NBT, Radio Thailand FM 88, and on NBT World. It's Friday, September the 4th, and you're with me, Tra Thirakangsan. And welcome to today's segment of Thailand Moves Forward. In our first story, authorities have apprehended another suspect in Narathiwat province believed to be associated with the bombing incident at Ricepledging intersection. Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha confirmed the news, saying the suspect will be brought to Bangkok for questioning. He also revealed that Deputy Prime Minister General Prawit Wongsuwon has traveled to China to discuss matters of national security. General Prayut said that it is important for authorities to first verify the nationalities of the bombing suspects and has yet to decide if a joint investigation with China would be necessary. The Prime Minister is not concerned about the outcome of the National Reform Council's upcoming votes on the draft charter. Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha said that he is not concerned whether the NRC will vote to endorse or reject the draft constitution on September 6, as the right to vote belongs to each of the councillors to exercise. The Prime Minister said he is keeping an eye on the outcome anyhow. If the draft charter is rejected by the majority of the NRC members, the entire drafting process must begin again. But once endorsed, the country will have to get ready for the public referendum. General Prayut said the political groups who are opposing the draft charter, particularly the part involving the setting up of the National Strategic Reform and Reconciliation Commission, should believe that this new body will be set up only to ensure that the next government will continue with the reform framework initiated by the current administration. The Prime Minister is asking all sectors to help strengthen small and medium enterprises, or SMEs, to boost Thailand's competitiveness. Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha presented an SME policy to the Office of Small and Medium Enterprises Promotion, the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Commerce, and the Thai Chamber of Commerce. The policy was unveiled at a seminar attended by 230 SME operators. OSMEP said that the government has placed great emphasis on improving the SME sector. There are more than 2.7 million SMEs nationwide, with only 0.5% considered medium-sized enterprises. The Premier urged all sectors to support these businesses because they constitute a large fraction of the Thai economy. The government will enforce stimulus measures and provide the necessary incentives to make sure SMEs will thrive. The government has affirmed that the civil lawsuit against the officials involved in the previous administration's rice-pledging program will be concluded late this year. Deputy Prime Minister Wisanu Kriangam spoke at a hearing session by the National Legislative Assembly, saying the case has undergone its first phase of impeaching the officials involved, while the case will involve a civil lawsuit. He revealed that the government has now established 2 committees to prosecute those involved and demand financial compensation for the program's losses. A verdict on those who will be fined will be concluded at the end of September of this year. Mr. Wisanu affirmed that the entire civil case will be concluded before the case expires in February of 2016. The Public Health Minister has been asked about how those involved in commercial surrogacy before the new law, which bans such practices, came into effect, will be punished. Member of the National Legislative Assembly, Wanlop Tangkananurak, asked Public Health Minister Piyasakon Sakontana Yathon. The government is planning to prosecute medical personnel and health establishments that break the protection of children born from assisted reproductive technologies, which came into effect on July 30th. Mr. Wanlop said that even though the law banning commercial surrogacy is in effect, there is no provision related to the punishment on those involved in such practices during the past many years when surrogacy has been popular. Newly appointed Minister of Agriculture and Cooperatives, Chatchay Sarikalaya, has told all agencies of the ministry to review their output to ensure relevance with current circumstances. Speaking at a meeting of senior ministry officials, General Chatchay told the participants to review all the work of their respective agencies and determine whether it is appropriate for current conditions in agriculture and suited to the demands of the market. The minister also issued an urgent policy requiring the agencies to find ways to reduce production costs and increase yields in the agricultural sector. The officials were asked to update details in the database on farmers to be used in driving agricultural-related policies tailored to each locality. During the meeting, executives of the Department of Agricultural Extension were asked to formulate a plan for new theory farming within 6 months. The minister believes that increased adoption of new theory farming will contribute to greater sustainability, adding that agricultural zoning is a measure that will take time to implement. The newly appointed Deputy Prime Minister overseeing economic policy, Somkit Chattopadhyay, handed down his new economic stimulus measures, which involve cooperation with several ministries as well as the private sector. These measures included an initiative for the Commerce Ministry to join hands with the private sector in monitoring commodity prices, especially food items, making them in line with the dropping fuel prices. He planned to have provincial commerce officials supervising local trades. The establishment of regional markets would also help vendors distributing goods directly to consumers at lower prices. As for strategies to monitor prices of agri-products such as latex, palm oil, and rice, he said cooperation will be forged with the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperatives and the private sector in determining appropriate prices. The factors affecting agri-products are the local export policy and the global economic situation. The Commerce Ministry would look into ways to speed up the trade registration process, aiming to reduce the lengthy procedures from 1 month to 1 day. Finally, he said the Ministry of Tourism and Sports would help promote new tourism spots in order to encourage entrepreneurs to create new products for the market. The Joint Standing Committee on Commerce, Industry and Banking is confident that the government's plan to inject 130 billion baht into the local economy will help stimulate spending within 3 months. The committee's comment came during the JSC-CIB's meeting, where it suggested to the government that the latter come up with more short-term economic stimulus packages. It also offered several ideas of its own, such as lowering tax for small and medium enterprises to between 5 to 10%, depending on the sizes of the business. Currently, SME operators are subject to paying 20% tax regardless of the sizes. Lower tax would attract more entrepreneurs to get into more business, while making it easier for them to get the capital necessary for their operation. Other suggestions include measures to increase border trade value to offset the contracting export, provide assistance to various export promotion units, and an inclusion of consultants from the JSC-CIB in each provincial economic team. The JSC-CIB also advised the government to strengthen various cooperatives across the nation, while joining hands with the private sector, searching for representatives for Thai traders to compete in the global arena. The Minister to the Prime Minister's office has encouraged those working under the Office of the Consumer Protection Board to abide by their moral principles when reaching out to consumers. Minister to the Prime Minister's office, Hmawmluang Panada Disakun, made his point at the opening ceremony of an OCPB seminar aimed at boosting regional consumer protection efforts. More than 200 OCPB officials working in regional offices attended the ceremony, during which they were urged to protect consumers from being taken advantage of by manufacturers. It could be in a form of over-exaggerated advertisement or overpriced products. Hmawmluang Panada said they are also advised to keep themselves updated on what consumers are currently interested in and new tactics that entrepreneurs are using to attract buyers to their products. OCPB officials are expected to provide the public with greater access to their service by raising awareness of their roles and responsibilities among the consumers. The three-day seminar will come to an end on September 5th. The Better Rice Initiative Asia introduced and implemented its activities to promote sustainable rice production in Thailand's northeastern province of Ubon Ratchathani. For more on this, Kun Tarin Angsakun visited the province for this report.
The German International Corporation is one of the companies implementing the Better Rice Initiative Asia, or BRIA, which aims to foster the cooperation between the private and public sectors in order to promote sustainable growth in rice production and improve access to nutrition within the food sector in Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. Here is Mr. Suriyant Ricepledging, BRIA Regional Project Director, talking about the project and how it's helping rice production.
Better rice refers to how we can ensure proper standard of rice with nutrition value, with the practice that we can have high yield rice, but at the same time safe environment. That is how we hope to see better rice. Better life is referred to how rice production can benefit people, and better life refers to farmers' life, whether how farmers can benefit from better income, better livelihoods.
Farmers living on subsistence farming often lack knowledge about efficient agricultural practices, environmentally friendly production techniques, and access to finance and connections to the local as well as regional markets. BRIA, in cooperation with the Rice Department of the Ministry of Agriculture and Bayer Crop Science, are implementing activities to train small-scale farmers in Det Udom district in Ubon Ratchathani as a pilot project.
A population increase in Asia lead to rising demand for food staple rice. To achieve the food security and increase income of the rice farmers, farming businesses have to be modernized.
66 farmers in Buangam sub-district of Det Udom are participating in BRIA project. They can see a bright future even just after one crop has been harvested. Uncle Kong Silalak is one of the farmers who receive benefits from the project.
At least 80% of the 66 participating farmers will continue the project for the next year. Farmers can see good results from the project even if there were some obstacles at the beginning. Now, the rice field is much improved because of the help from BRIA.
BRIA expects to increase the yield and quality of rice production in Indonesia and the Philippines, which still rely on rice imports. Thailand and Vietnam, in contrast, are rice exporters. In these countries, the project focuses on efficient and conservation of farm practices. All of the activities are initiated to produce rice more efficiently and to give a better life to the farmers. I am Tarin Angskun for NBT World in Ubon Ratchathani.
The Court of Justice has held the third Beliatai Sejwasihati program with Privy Councillor General Prem Tinasulanon, urging the attending students to cultivate a mindset of unity and gratification to their home country. General Prem said Thailand belongs to Thais of all religions and that citizens must express gratification to their home country by preventing corruption and cultivating a spirit of unity. The program is held to educate students of common laws and the functioning of the justice system in order to create awareness of citizens' rights and duties. The students will have an opportunity to meet with the Prime Minister, the President of the Supreme Court, and the President of the National Legislative Assembly. Officials at Bang San Beach have warned tourists and locals to refrain from swimming in the sea, which has been covered in algae blooms. Officials blamed continuous rainfall for causing stormwater runoff, which in turn causes algae blooms. The phenomenon has depleted dissolved oxygen levels in the sea, causing a number of small marine animals to die. The seawater along Bangsan Beach has reportedly turned dark green and foul with the smell of dead planktons and marine animals. The popular tourist spot has experienced its fourth algae bloom this year. Experts have warned local people not to consume dead fish from the algae bloom, as they can be tainted with dangerous bacteria. Tourists are advised against swimming in the sea during this period to avoid skin irritation. And that's the end of today's edition of Thailand Moves Forward. Before we take a quick break, let's have a look at the exchange rates and commodity prices.
To maintain a strong nation, Thailand is promoting 12 core values for the good of the people. The fourth core value: seeking direct and indirect knowledge and education.
How could you do that to me? Stop it! Huh? Don't you get it? I don't need you anymore. Enough! We're through. There's someone else in my life.
Say no to the past. Bring your own bag. Say no to plastic.
Multiple perspectives, insightful commentary on Thailand with The Insider every Sunday morning at 10:30 on NBT and NBT World.
This is Thailand at large.
The show which is about to take you to the new experiences with the exciting stories.
With charming fascination. With a touch of Thainess.
Join us on NBT World.
Explore with us and you'll know and love Thailand even more than before.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsline. The U.S. Chargé d'Affaires has pledged to offer any assistance Thailand may need to cope with the fallout of the deadly blast in Bangkok. During his visit to Nakhon Ratchasima, U.S. Chargé d'Affaires W. Patrick Murphy said that there has been a long-running cooperation between the U.S. and this northeastern province of Thailand in such areas as security and education. Mr. Murphy also held a meeting with the governor of Nakhon Ratchasima, during which they discussed the economic conditions, the tourism industry, and the livelihood of the people, both locals and the Americans in the province. At one point, Mr. Murphy said that the U.S. has been saddened by the deadly explosion in front of the Erawan Shrine in Bangkok on August 17th and is condemning the people responsible for the deadly attack. When asked to comment on the arrest of some suspects, he said that the investigation is an internal affair of Thailand, but noted that the U.S. government always wishes to offer any assistance to Thailand, the U.S.'s close ally. Elsewhere around the world, British Prime Minister David Cameron came under pressure on Thursday to take in more refugees after the image of a dead Syrian toddler washed up on a Turkish beach raised the emotional temperature of the debate. Cameron said that he did not think the answer was to take more and more refugees, but to bring peace and stability to the Middle East. His response has been widely perceived as inadequate in the face of the unfolding tragedy. The change of tone from a newspaper criticized by the United Nations rights chief in April after one of its columnists compared migrants to cockroaches was a mark of the emotional impact of the images of humans suffering across Europe. But Cameron on Thursday pointed to Britain's contribution to aid, which it says is very generous. Britain has granted asylum to about 5,000 Syrians who were able to reach the country by their own means since the start of the Syrian war. In addition, it has taken 216 people under a UN-backed relocation scheme for vulnerable Syrians. Several European countries have taken in Syrians in greater numbers. The piece of wing found on the shore of Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean has been formally identified as part of the wreckage of Malaysian Airlines flight MH370. The part, known as a flaperon, was found on the shore of the French-governed island on July 29th, and Malaysian authorities have said paint color and maintenance record matches proved it came from the missing Boeing 777 aircraft. The French prosecutor, who had until Thursday's statement had been more cautious on its provenance, said a technician from the Airbus Defence and Space in Spain, which had been made part of Boeing, had formally identified one of three numbers found on the flaperon as being the serial number of the MH370 Boeing 777. The plane disappeared in March last year en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing with 239 passengers and crew on board, most of them Chinese. Chinese President Xi Jinping hosted a gala show for leaders of several nations and international guests in Beijing on Thursday night after holding a military parade to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II. China's Xi and his wife Peng Liyun walked in Beijing's Great Hall of the People with international leaders and guests, including Russian President Vladimir Putin and UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, along with war veterans to attend the 2-hour evening gala. Chinese artists put on performances on stage showing the history of the war of resistance against Japan in China during the World War II. Earlier on Thursday, more than 12,000 soldiers, mostly Chinese, but with contingents from China and elsewhere, then began marching down Chang'an Avenue, led by veterans of World War II carried in vehicles. They were followed by ballistic missiles, tanks, and armored vehicles, many never seen in public before. Advanced fighter jets and bombers flew overhead in a highly choreographed spectacle that lasted around 90 minutes. Among the weapons China unveiled for the first time was an anti-ship ballistic missile, the Dongfeng 21D, which is reportedly capable of destroying an aircraft carrier with one hit. And that's it for today's edition of Newsline. For any comments or suggestions, please feel free to email them to us at newsline.nbt@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook. Just simply type in NNT or check out our website at thainews.prd.go.th/en. We are going to say goodbye now with a sheep in Australia that is recorded to have the most amount of wool in the world. I'm Pra Thirakosan. Have a wonderful day. Sawasdee ka.